This morning I have a very cool 69 Telecaster on my bench. We're doing a bunch of upgrades on it. We're doing a refret, making a new nut, just generally sprucing it up. One of the things that we're doing to this Telecaster is we're replacing the stock steel saddles with the Goto in-tune saddles. Now what's cool about the Goto in-tune saddles is they are an intonated saddle, so they have different contact points for each string to optimize the intonation on a 3-saddle bridge. They also have a groove that keeps the string from sliding around, which is a common problem on brass or steel 3-saddle bridges. So in getting ready to install the new saddles, I obviously had to take off the old saddles. So I took off the old saddles and I decided, well, I'll tighten up his bridge screws because nobody's been in there for a while. And I found that all of them turned freely. So 3 of them were just stripped in the wood, and 1 of them, however, was completely rusted through and broken off in the wood. So what I'm going to do to fix this problem is I'm going to wick thin super glue down the 3 holes where the screw was just a little bit loose, and that will solidify the threads in the wood and enable the screw to grab again. The hole that has the rusted off screw in it, I'm going to use this screw extraction tool. What this tool does is it cuts a channel around the screw shaft, and then it will allow the screw to just come straight out of the wood with a little bit of wood around it. So the first thing I'll do is I'll check my depth, because I obviously don't want to drill all the way through the guitar. That will be definitely sufficient to extract the screw, so I'm going to set my depth stops on my Shopsmith so that I cannot go any farther than that. The next part of the process will be positioning the guitar directly under the screw extractor. So that is perfectly centered. Now I've set my Shopsmith to the slowest speed because this tool does not require a lot of speed to cut correctly. It has a cutting edge on the front of this little hook here, and that's what actually cuts the wood away from around the screw. So here we go. Cutting in, cutting the wood around the screw. Okay, that's as far as I set my depth stop, and my screw hasn't quite popped out yet. I'm going to grab a little pair of tweezers and see if it's just barely hanging on in the bottom so I don't cut any deeper than I need to. I'll be right back. So now I just grabbed a pair of tweezers. I can see the screw very clearly, so I'm going to see if it'll just, oh yeah, it's just barely hanging on down there. So there is the screw that was rusted and broken off in the bottom of the hole. Okay, so what I've decided to do is I'm going to go ahead and dowel the hole almost all the way to the top with just a standard hardwood dowel. And then I'm going to make a cap out of ash that will match the grain on the top of the guitar. So here's my little cap. It's a little proud, but I made it tapered so that when I hammer it in, there will be a very small ring around it. The glue, it'll minimize the glue line. I'm going to go ahead and glue in the bottom piece of the dowel. So here's just a little yellow glue. Down in the hole, like so. Doesn't need much because it's a nice tight fit. So go ahead and knock this down into the body. Heard it nice and solid there at the bottom. That is a great doweling job there. That would be sufficient in itself. I want it to look nice, so I'm going to go the extra mile and put the little cap on. Okay, now we'll go ahead and glue in the top cap. Same sort of situation, a little bit of wood glue right in there. Line up my grain lines. That's the whole point of this operation. And then go ahead and knock it into the body. So 30 minutes have now elapsed, and now my little plug is glued in and dry. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off first with a flush cut saw, and then I'll chisel it down to the surface of the surrounding wood. So I'm going to protect the top of the guitar with a little bit of painter's tape. Gently saw across, come in from this side so it doesn't chip out. Now I'll use my crank neck Narex chisel, which I love. It's great chisels. And I'll come in and cut the rest of that off. The crank neck is really nice because you can get right down on the wood without scuffing anything. Okay, so I have lined up my other 3 bridge holes, and I will now center punch right there on the plug that I put in. So now I will measure my screw and see what my drill bit size needs to be. So around 100,000ths of an inch is going to work out really well. So I'll get chucked up into the shopsmith and we'll drill this hole. So the first thing I'll do is set my depth. So I'll set that on the top of the guitar body. Then I'll bring my screw up here and I'll set my depth stop so that I know exactly how far to drill. Then I will drill a hole. So here we go. There we go. So now, let's come back over here. So now I'll just put a little bit of tinted lacquer on the plug just to help shade it in a little bit to match the surrounding wood. All right, we have now extracted a rusted and broken screw from this Telecaster body, doweled with a hardwood dowel the area where the threads will catch, and then put in an ash plug to look pretty close to the graining of the top. And now I will just cover it up with the bridge and no one will ever see it again. So thanks for watching.